This movie is about the beautiful Priscilla Presley. The movie opens up with shots of Priscilla Presley's glamorous lifestyle. Then we move to 1959, when a young 14-year-old Priscilla Beaulieu is sitting by the table in a restaurant. A man comes up to her out of nowhere, mentioning he's seen her around. She tells him her father was recently stationed in the vicinity. He reveals he books the entertainment, and that his wife plays the venue occasionally. He then invites her to meet Elvis Presley, of whom she's a huge fan, but she answers that she will ask her parents. Priscilla leaves the dinner glad and a little excited. Her parents are unsupportive toward the idea of her following strangers. They immediately say no, that they will not let her go out. She tries to assure them that she is going to be safe, but her parents are not moved. After her parents refuse, she gets Sergeant Terry to ask her father. They are having food at the restaurant when he approaches her father and introduces himself. Finally, they decide to let her go. Priscilla walks into where Elvis is staying. She sees Elvis, who is the center of attention, and heads straight for him. He takes immediate notice, and when she gets close enough, he asks her if she would like to have a seat. He asks her about herself and her grade. She tells him she's in the 9th grade, and he calls her a baby, earning a fierce response from her. Elvis then starts to play an upbeat song. Priscilla watches him play in amazement. The night's events continue to play on Priscilla's mind. She's at home when Terry calls to tell her Elvis wants her to come over again. She doesn't, however, think her parents will let her go the second time around. But Terry says he will talk to her father. Priscilla is back on her way to Elvis's house. The house is lively with people. Elvis is taking Priscilla around the party. They are having a conversation they're enjoying. Priscilla continues to smile at Elvis's questions. She tells him one of his songs is her favorite when he asks. He invites her to her room so they can continue to talk, and after considering it, she agrees. Elvis begins to tell Priscilla about his mother. He tells her she would have liked her. Elvis is heartbroken over his mother's passing. He shares with Priscilla his struggles with how he sees things changing for the worse without her. He says that he thinks his father is changing, and that she was always there to support him. He's not doing that great, and he misses her. He tells Priscilla he's been homesick, which is why he has taken a liking to her. They share this homesickness in common. Elvis places his hand on hers, and they share a kiss. Priscilla's parents are not happy about Priscilla going to see Elvis. They tell her that they at least have to meet him. They argue about it. Priscilla, however, stays adamant about continuing to see him. Elvis visits the Beaulieu residence. Priscilla's father gets straight to the point, asking Mr. Presley's intentions with his daughter, as a man who can have any woman he wants. Elvis says he is fond of Priscilla, whom he believes is quite mature for her age, and he enjoys spending time with her. The father agrees to them continuing to see each other, with the condition that he picks her up himself and has her home on time. Elvis and Priscilla start to go on dates. They watch a movie, and Elvis repeats the movie lines while Priscilla enjoys watching him. The two stare at each other lovingly. They are falling in love. They sit in the car as Elvis tells her about his dream of acting. Priscilla is supportive of him. It's getting late, and Priscilla has to leave. He gives her something to stay awake in class the next day and kisses her goodnight. That night, Priscilla throws herself on the bed, excited. Priscilla and Elvis are now saying goodbye to each other. Priscilla is having a hard time dealing with his absence. She stares at his pictures and the things she has of him, constantly counting the days that pass her by. It's been months. Priscilla starts to doubt. Her mother even tells her to forget about him. Then the phone rings, and Priscilla is shocked that he's called her. She's relieved, because she and everyone else thought he'd forgotten about her, but he assures her that it's not the case. She's happy when he tells her that there is nothing going on, and he misses her. He tells her he'd like to arrange for her to visit him in Memphis. She's not sure her parents would let her, but he asks her to leave it to him. Priscilla flies first class. She stops in front of a big white house, and when she goes in, she is received very warmly. Elvis picks her up when he sees her, tells her she looks beautiful, and introduces her to his guys. Later that evening, people gather around talking. Elvis and Priscilla are secluded on the couch with each other. He asks her if she's tired, and he sends her up, promising to join her in a bit. A few women are surprised with Priscilla's young age. Priscilla changes into her nightwear. Elvis calls for her when he enters the room. Priscilla puts on a little perfume as she gets ready to go see him. She gets on the bed with him, but Elvis doesn't allow it to get much further than kissing. He tells her there will be a better time, then gives her a pill that knocks her out for 2 days. They go out to a casino for the night. They're now in the public eye. Priscilla's style has also leveled up. Soon enough, Priscilla has to leave again. She pleads to Elvis that she isn't going back, but he tells her she has to go. Priscilla arrives home, and her parents are happy to see her, but upon looking at their daughter's new appearance, they become quite cold. Priscilla is self-conscious because of her parents' reaction. She goes back to school in her ordinary clothes. Priscilla's mother, growing tired of the relationship, complains to Priscilla about Elvis. She thinks he should find some closer to his age. Seeing her falling to tears, she agrees to help her daughter. Elvis calls her father about getting Priscilla to move in with him. He doesn't want to agree, but her mother tries to convince him. Due to Priscilla's parents wanting her to be happy, they agree to let her go. Priscilla asks her dad not to be worried about her, even though she's so young. Elvis leaves Priscilla a gift. She goes out to the patio to see a cute small white dog. which she picks up and kisses. Priscilla is dropped off at her new school. The girls there already know that she's seeing Elvis. They gossip about her as soon as they see her in the classrooms. Elvis's fans stand outside his gate. A woman comes in and asks Priscilla not to make a foolish display of herself, and she should get back inside. She watches TV as she stays inside alone. Elvis calls her to ask how she is. She tells him she's having a great time. The only problem stems from Elvis's father, who is quite strict. She tells Elvis about a store she wishes to work at, but Elvis refuses to let her work, believing in a more old-fashioned mindset and threatening to break up with her. Elvis comes back with his crew. He asks Priscilla about school, but she hasn't really made any friends there. Elvis tells her to keep up her grades so her dad will allow her to keep staying with him. She tries to complain a bit more, but Elvis waves it off. They have dinner. Priscilla is really happy that Elvis is back. The next morning, he takes her out shopping, and he and his friends comment on her outfits. She thinks some of the outfits are too sophisticated, but Elvis doesn't share her sentiment. He tells her that black hair would make her eyes pop, and takes her to dye her hair. The next morning it's a school day, and she takes pills to help her stay awake, since she was out late with Elvis. When she walks in, the girls still gossip about her. Priscilla returns home and brings breakfast for Elvis, who had previously still been sleeping. He buys her a gun and attempts to teach her to shoot. The two go out together to a roller skating ring. Again, Priscilla wakes up, new hair, new style. She takes the pills again and styles her outfits with different guns. She is getting used to their new life. She arrives back home from shopping. Elvis doesn't think her outfit looks good on her. She throws a tantrum after he says that to her. Her headmistress tells Priscilla that she needs to do well in school to graduate. Her father calls and asks her about school. She lies and tells him she's doing fine. They tell her they want her to graduate, and she promises them she will. Priscilla spends the night frustratedly trying to study. During her test, though, she doesn't know the answer, and she promises the girl sitting next to her an invitation to Elvis's party if she lets her cheat. The next day, Elvis gifts Priscilla a car for graduation. Everyone is happy for her. She asks him to wait outside, so as not to take attention from the graduates. The two lovebirds hardly leave the bedroom. They take photographs of themselves as they spend quality time together in the bedroom. The two even have a pillow fight. During, he tells her she shouldn't be rough, because he is a man, and hits her with the pillow. He continues to yell as she storms off, saying he can't play without winning. Elvis becomes remorseful over what he has done, and goes to apologize to Priscilla. He asks her to open the door and tells her it was an accident, since he would never really ever hurt her. She unlocks the door for him, but tells him in a low voice that the pills may be too much. He shrugs her off rudely after that and leaves. All seems to be okay between Priscilla and Elvis again. Priscilla is out with Elvis as he's shooting guns. He spots an old house and asks what it is. His gang tells him it's the storage house. He calls it awful, and pulls it down with the tractor while Priscilla and the others cheer him on. Elvis and his gang are going back to Hollywood again. He's saying goodbye to Priscilla, promising not to take too long. She tells him she is going to miss him. He tells her to give him a few weeks, and he will send for her. Priscilla is pleased to hear it. He tells her to be good and he'll call her, then kisses her goodbye. Priscilla is disappointed to see him leave. Priscilla is enjoying talking to some of the women employed at Elvis's estate, but his father comes in to tell her to leave so they can work, and shuts the door behind him. Priscilla is getting her hair done when she sees a photo in a magazine of Elvis and another lady, making her jealous, but she bites it down. She receives a call from Elvis. She asks him how he is, and that she can't wait to see him. He tells her that it's not yet time, since there is a problem on set with the director and his co-star. She asks him how he's getting along with Anne, feeling jealous of her, but Elvis tells her that he has no interest in someone like her, who puts a career before her man. She tells him about the rumors she's heard going around, and he denies that there is anything to it. Priscilla is upset with Elvis over the news coverage of him and Anne being engaged. He handles Priscilla and tells her roughly that he needs a woman who can understand that these things can happen. She agrees to leave tomorrow. Elvis comes home and apologizes to Priscilla. He tells her to forget about Anne, because he was carried away. He confirms Priscilla's suspicions. Priscilla and Elvis get along fine again. It doesn't last, as she finds a love note in his breast pocket. She confronts him about it. He tells her she's imagining it, and she brings up Anne. Priscilla breaks into tears as Elvis avoids her questions. He tells her she is being aggressive and demanding, and she should go to her parents. She frantically tells him she isn't going to go, and he yells at her that she should, and aggressively tosses her clothes into a suitcase. He yells for someone to get her an immediate ticket and fly her out. Elvis gently picks a sobbing Priscilla up, telling her he hopes she now understands things. Priscilla folds into his hands and rests her head, sobbing, on his shoulders. Priscilla stares from her window. She overhears Elvis tell his father he is lonesome and depressed. He has complaints about not being able to do things the way that he would like, and he feels no one understands him. Priscilla and him lay on their beds. Elvis is looking over the scripts he thinks are terrible. He also complains about not being able to do any real musicals. She asks why he doesn't just ask for something more serious, and he tells her, as if talking to a child, that it just doesn't work like that. Elvis doesn't feel inspired. He and Priscilla are listening to records, and he likes none of the ones they are playing for him to pick. He asks Priscilla what she thinks about the music, and she tells him it might be missing some catchiness. Elvis grabs a chair and flings it away as it hits the wall beside her. He immediately apologizes to her after. Elvis is reading to a bunch of women who are flirting with him in front of Priscilla. He doesn't think twice about flirting back, embarrassing her. He doesn't follow her and continues to flirt with the girls. Elvis introduces Priscilla to a man he calls very spiritual. Elvis gives Priscilla a substance that Larry gave them that is supposed to help them go deep. He puts a droplet on each sugar cube, and both each take one. They both become intoxicated. Priscilla even tells him that his shirt is breathing. Elvis continues to read the Bible to Priscilla. He questions the purpose of his blessing. He ponders its meaning. He opens another book he wants her to read, but Priscilla isn't interested and tries to initiate intimacy. He stops her and tells her that they need to control their desires, instead of their desires controlling them. Their relationship will never work if she doesn't share his same interests and philosophies. He tells her that there are a lot of women who want to do this with him, prompting her to do what he says. Priscilla finally bursts and tells him she can't stand it, and he calls her a mad woman, but she tells him that she simply has needs and wants to be desired. Elvis is ordered to give up his books. He lights a fire to burn them. Elvis layers the house with roses. He asks Priscilla to come sit down next to him on the bed, and then proposes to her, singing that he would know when the time is right. Priscilla and Elvis get married, and many people join them to celebrate. Married life for Priscilla and Elvis is wonderful and beautiful as they share the moments with their friends. Priscilla becomes pregnant, and upon finding out, Elvis is really happy, but Priscilla doesn't look so joyous. He asks what's wrong, and she admits she's scared. She wants a baby, but it's too soon. Their trip to Europe, and all their other plans being messed up. He assures her that the two of them will go another time, and comforts her with a hug. Priscilla is a few months along, and she's sitting having breakfast when she picks up the paper. Plastered on the front page of the paper is a picture of Elvis getting cozy with another woman. Priscilla's mood changes when she sees this. She looks at her growing stomach in the mirror. She's so big, and her feet are swollen as she steps on the scale to weigh herself. Elvis calls for her and tells her he's been thinking, and that things haven't been right. Best for the two of them if they take a little time apart. Priscilla stands before him, confused, asking him what she did wrong. He reveals he is going through some things. Priscilla agrees without any hesitation, and tells him to let her know when he's ready for her to leave. She doesn't get very far before Elvis changes his mind and begs her not to go. Elvis is outside playing football, and a pregnant Priscilla is in the baby's room, folding the baby's clothes. When she goes into labor, Priscilla makes sure to do her makeup before leaving for the hospital. Priscilla and Elvis welcome their child, and as they try to leave the hospital, lots of Elvis fans wait for them outside the hospital. The nanny looks after the baby while Priscilla tries to initiate intimacy with Elvis, who rejects her even after she pleads for him, since it's been quite a while since they've been intimate. Elvis's shows are now sold out. Elvis is on every newspaper, and his posters hang everywhere. Then he is leaving, as he has to go on tour. Priscilla is there with her daughter to send him off. She excitedly asks when they can join him, but Elvis tells her she can't come, because tours are no place for a brand new mother and a small child. He kisses her goodbye, and promises to be home as soon as he can. She tells him they'll miss him as he drives off. Priscilla combs her daughter's hair so they can go take a family picture. Priscilla plays on the swing with her daughter. She asks Elvis when they're alone if they should meet him in Palm Springs. He blows her off, saying he needs to be with the guys. Priscilla can't believe him, but he tells her to lighten up, disregarding her again. She tells her she and her daughter will continue to stay in Los Angeles some more, and he doesn't argue with her. Priscilla spends her time alone driving, swimming, and practicing martial arts. She also spends time with her daughter and friends. One of those friends is her martial arts teacher. It is quite suspicious how close they are to each other, especially since Elvis is not really around. While she's living her fullest life, Elvis's life is on tour. It's not as full of the joys that make life really worth living. But he gets on stage, and people envy his fast life. But it's not as glamorous as they would think, and because of his fame and career taking off, there are things that are important to him that he is neglecting, such as his family. Elvis's life has completely changed. He is hardly home, and doesn't get to see Priscilla as often. He is always on the road, and doesn't have time for a partner. Elvis is a popstar, even having random women in his bed. Priscilla and him have begun to drift apart, and she as a young woman has started to grow into herself. Both of them have become victims of circumstance. Priscilla is having a girls' night having dinner when the waiter comes up to tell her that Elvis has asked her up to his suite. This is a strange occurrence, as Elvis doesn't really come home to his room between shows. Priscilla seems worried, but she doesn't really show it. She tells them that she will just go up to check up on him. She opens the door to see what could be the matter. She enters into a dimly lit bedroom. Elvis is quiet on the bed, his hand on his chin. The atmosphere is worrying, and Priscilla is showing obvious concern for Elvis. She sits next to him, he grabs her and starts to kiss her. She kisses him back, but then he starts to get rough with her. A jealous Elvis tells her that he wants to show her how a real man is with his woman, even as Priscilla struggles with him and asks him to stop. The next day, Priscilla tells him she is leaving their marriage. Elvis is blindsided, and he is immediately ejected from his bed with rage. He tells her that she has everything any woman could dream of, and that he should have expected this. She tells him that they are living separate lives already. Knowing it's true, Elvis hangs his head. He asks her if he's lost her to another man, but she answers that it's not a man, but to begin her own life. She tells him she has to go, or she might never leave. Elvis tells her that maybe in another place or time, they could have made it work. He has gone from anger to regret. Priscilla leaves, her heart heavy, because this was not an easy decision. She loves Elvis very much. She begins to leave the house and people she has known for many years. They send her off as warmly as they received her. She came to them as a little girl, and is now leaving them as a grown woman who wants different things.